P in Promethean stands for problem.
Hello, greetings, etc. Welcome to this very special session of the Sword of the Skulls on the Meeples and Dragons channel. Ash, we need the musical intro, please. Having been teleported out of the merchant city of Eldebor by the wizard Alatarn, the party have found themselves well positioned to look into rumours of missing children from Dr. Velkior's home for wayward children, and the whereabouts of Nessie Brittlewheat, a friend of Malia's, who was said to be investigating the very same mystery. Arriving at the orphanage, Malia, Lilith, Vermillion, and their companions learned from the overworked matron of the orphanage, Harding, that Velkior himself has not been seen for nearly 2 years, and she confirmed that a higher than usual number of the older children have been taking their leave of the orphanage, in some case taking their younger siblings with them. Speaking with some of these wayward children, the party learned that Nessie has been at the orphanage mere days before, and that strange sounds from within the walls were among the creepy things taking place in the old house. Not as creepy, of course, as the young girl croaking out something about graves, and I believe we have some sound effects prepared.
Yeah, it's me. Hi, I'm the sound effects. It's me. So it was something like...
Yeah.
That's fucking terrifying. Never do that again.
Also not as creepy as the animated child's dolls
Also,
that hid from view when Lilith's detect magic spell led her to them. It was once again speaking with Harding that the party spied one of these dolls prick the woman with a silver needle, at which point her demeanour changed and she brutally murdered her colleague, the lovably wholesome gardener Findle. In this kitchen, Vermillion, Malia, and Lilith, the shadows of late afternoon seem to deepen, stretch, and reach out. And you each hear a voice coming from these shadows. Leave this place. Remain at thy peril. Tendrils rise from pools at the feet of your companions behind you, and they're dragged down into an inky well of shadow to be seen no more, their belongings gathering at the floor where they once stood. And of course, Harding is now holding a knife towards you, so all three of you will need to roll initiative, please.
Guys, we need to get those needles and destroy them, I guess. I think that's the thing that is allowing the dolls to possess people. Or we could stab the body with the needle again, I think. I don't know, this is all happening really fast. I'm going to try and wrest the doll from the apron pocket.
Run us a grapple check, I guess, then?
17.
That is highly successful. Harding's crawling over this bench, and so this thing's almost falling out of her pocket at this point.
Does the doll still have the needle?
It does.
Can I, as part of the resting of the doll, try and just poke Harding with the needle again?
I'm going to say it's probably going to be a second action.
Don't worry, everybody, I have a plan!
Lilith is just gonna look at Harding and look at the doll and be like, "Possession, darling, really?" And cast protection from evil and good on Harding.
It has no effect.
I would heed the warning given to me, and I would have a look and see if there is anything worth salvaging from our companions.
3 backpacks full of stuff.
Really so much.
Yeah, multiple weapons and several pouches that you can only assume are filled with currencies of assorted types. Harding will kind of spin, turn, and hiss at Vermillion. She is going to slash out with this knife.
She would. Classic Harding. Now I'm going to try and stab her with the needle.
Silver Needle Throat Punch is entirely successful. Harding kind of like clutches at her throat. As if a mist is lifted, you see Harding's entire posture change, and she looks at the knife in her hand, looks at the pool of blood on the bench, and Findle's body, looks at you, Vermillion, and just absolutely lets loose with this horrified scream and starts backing away from you immediately. Meanwhile, Tinywing, you've been bound in this lantern in a very dark, very damp, cold place. You notice very suddenly that you are once again freely able to move.
She's going to start seeing if she can push open the glass, if there's an opening somewhere to get out of there. She can't be trapped again. This is like reliving her worst nightmare all over again.
The door of this lantern opens a little bit, so there's a bit of a gap there, but there is a clasp on the other side of it that's just stuck a little bit.
Maybe see if she's got her pipes handy to see if she can maybe get some leverage and get that little to come open for her so she can try and get out of there and go find Sal, because she really needs to find Sal.
There's enough room that this lantern door's opened up, and the clasp is sort of loose enough that you can essentially just jimmy it open with these pan pipes.
It's jimmied open. She's
Um,
out. She's going to hover around and try to find Sal, and if his attention isn't going to go her way because that's what she last saw, she's going to go try to find other help and be brave about it.
Coming out of the lantern, Tinywing will find themselves in almost looks like a cave, but you can see just very barely. In one direction, it gets very dark, and there's much more rock and some kind of gnarled roots coming out of the walls. In the other direction, you can see what looks like a little bit of stonework and a bit of dim light coming from a passageway in that direction.
As stealthily as her little wings will allow her to fly, head towards the light in the passageway.
You emerge into a graveyard. Off to your right, you'll see a very large kind of 2-story house on the other side of a relatively tall tree.
With nobody else in sight, just graves.
You do see a small monkey sitting on top of one of the gravestones.
I would fly near the monkey and see if it will be friendly.
It's guarded and cautious and watches you very intensely, and also watches the patch of dirt in front of this tombstone.
Hello, little monkey. Hello, I'm Tinywing. I can't find my friend. I'm very alone, and I'm supposed to be brave. I was told I always have to be brave if I'm going to make it in this world, but I don't know if I can be brave by myself. Are you here by yourself? Are you friendly?
It does not speak back to you.
Damn it.
But it does jump from the tombstone to the mound of earth and back to the tombstone and pace around in a little circle and kind of bob up and down a bit and make a little screech in your direction.
Unsure of what the monkey wants, she is going to cast Mold Earth and ever so slowly move the top of the grave side. Because she is a lover of all things that are pretty, it is going to be a pretty process. It is going to look like there is sparkles in that shit, all right? It sparkles, it's dirt. We're going to move it, and it's going to be pretty.
Kaori, you'll not only hear this earth shifting from above you, but you'll even see these little pinpricks of light coming through what looks like cracks in what's been holding you there. Feeling it, best guess would be some kind of wood.
Just trying to push a little bit more to try and get back out.
The lid of this coffin, it does move, but it doesn't move anywhere near as much as you feel like it should. Looking down at yourself, you find you are in the body of this small, mostly made of cloth, porcelain-faced doll, and you are unable to speak.
Here we go again.
The one other thing that you have as you stand is a silver needle, kind of in a very small, almost holster at your side.
Is there anything else that I can see around me?
Only your simian friend. And can you describe this monkey for us?
He's very little. His fur like sticks up in places. Like he doesn't really look too well groomed, and he does wear a shirt. His name's Zephyr.
He jumps down off of this tombstone and starts jumping around you, quite clearly excited to see you.
Yep.
You see in front of you, Tinywing. Saz, would you like to describe for us what exactly Kaori will see?
You'll see, if you're familiar with fairies, you would know that she does look smaller than the average fairy. She has blue and purple wings. Mostly, the blue is through the larger parts of the wings, with the purple being the veins. She has got very flowy sort of skirts, and she's got like the leaf decals through her on her shoulders here and around her collar and whatnot, and a bright gem hanging around her neck there.
How big am I, like, as this doll?
A doll's head height taller than Tinywing is. A monkey's
Okay.
head shorter than the monkey. And looking around, you will see that same scene. So on your right, as you come out of this grave, you'll see a mausoleum structure of some kind off to your right. Over to your left, there's a large tree with a rope swing on it. And beyond that, there's a large 2-story house. On one side, you can see what looks like some kind of maybe conservatory. There's definitely some plant life in there. On the other side, a door that looks like it leads to the interior.
And I've seen this house before.
Very briefly, and in the dark, and when you were alone and tired, it looks like a similar area to the area that you last recall being in. Yes.
We have found your friend, little monkey. Okay, you're welcome. I don't know what you want to do now. I need to find my friend now. Have you seen other people? Oh, I don't know why I'm talking to a monkey. Oh my goodness. Maybe the doll can understand me. Have you seen other people? Do you just want to walk where you've seen other people, little tiny doll thing?
I just kind of shake my head, but I'll point at the house, assuming that, like the house, that there might be something over there.
Okay, let's go.
Salislo. It's dark.
Hello.
It's cold. You're getting really frustrated really quickly at this point.
I will attempt to make as much noise as I can, bashing my soft little overstuffed hands against the wood.
Your soft little cloth hands rustle on the wood.
I'll very gently try and bop my head against it, having realized that I'm not me and I'm now definitively something else. I'll try and use like sort of the porcelain head to kind of like bonk and see how much noise that makes.
Kaori, as you're sort of walking through this graveyard, you hear this little... It sounds very similar to the noises that you would have been making whilst you were in the grave that you've just crawled out of.
Tinywing didn't hear
No.
that. Okay. I try and get Tinywing's attention and then walk over to the mound.
She's just gonna fly behind you, just asking stupid, meaningless questions about what we're doing.
When we get there, I just kind of point at the ground and look.
And it will be fairly obvious. So this graveyard is old. Like most of these tombstones are ancient to the point where whatever was inscribed on them is just weathered off. The vast majority of the graves that kind of litter this place are covered with grass. There are here and there what look to be kind of freshly dug graves at some of these very old tombstones.
And the little doll is leading Tinywing to a freshly dug one.
As in freshly filled in dug, though.
Yeah. Mold earth again with all the pretty sparkles that comes with it.
There's probably only one crack in your coffin, I think, Sal. So you'll see a little pinprick of light.
Say crack again.
As it becomes apparent that there's someone digging, that I'll use my head to knock a bit more insistently.
As you do so, and the earth on the lid of this coffin that you're in gets lighter and lighter. Doing that actually is what ultimately lifts the lid off of this coffin. It kind of flings up and out right into the path, in fact, of Kaori in doll form. And I'll get you to roll a dexterity saving throw for me, please, Kaori, to see if you can jump out of the way of this coffin lid.
Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no. I got a 3.
You will only take 2 bludgeoning damage from this coffin lid smacking into you.
Your face cracks in like a really cool way, so it looks like you have a nice,
Say crack
awesome
again.
scar over your eye.
Amazing.
And Sal, you appear now to be able to free yourself from.
So
this
I'm
situation.
almost sort of expecting that with the lid having squished the other doll, the first thing I'm going to see is either Tinywing or the monkey. If it's Tinywing, Tiny, you'd see the doll like pop up and just like raise its little arms at you and sort of like a toddler wanting to be picked
Like it
up.
wants uppies.
Yeah. But then the next thing you would notice is that the doll actually starts to float up a little bit and then just kind of flops on the ground and kind of gets up, dusts itself off with its little kind of mitts, like almost Like if a doll could look surprised, it would look surprised, but then would be like still doing the whole waving at you thing.
Yay! Hello, it's another tiny doll. Woohoo!
And so the doll, again, oblivious to the other squished doll under the lid, I'm sorry,
I'm
would
just chilling. It's fine.
float up and actually hug you.
Oh, Tinywing's gonna freak the fuck out. Freaking out. Just like nope. She's gone. She's gonna push against you and get out of there. I don't know you, little doll. Where's my other doll? Where's the monkey?
The monkey
she's
will
gonna
be jumping up and down, screeching at this point, lifting up at the lid of the coffin.
Sal doll will turn to the lid and possibly see like a part of Kaori
Legs.
doll sticking out from under it.
Oh God.
And with its little hands will be like little porcelain head, and then go and try and like lift the lid
So expressive.
off so that this other doll's no longer squished.
Did you manage to get underneath this coffin lid and flip it over and get it off of Kaori's doll self?
Right. 2 dolls, a monkey, and a fairy walk into a graveyard. I don't know what happens next. We were going to the house, weren't we? Doll number 1 with the monkey.
Kaori just sits up, looking as pissed off as a doll can look, as the monkey like helps her like get up to her feet. And then she kind of dusts herself off, nods, and then just starts walking back towards the house.
You're coming, doll number 2?
Doll number 2, its little arms will like point at Tinywing and then point at itself, and then we'll try to make like a heart symbol.
And at that point, all 3 of you hear
Good
a
God.
blood-curdling scream come from inside the house. And we'll go back then to Harding absolutely screaming in your face, Vermillion. What are you doing? What have you done? What happened to Fiddle?
I realize that this looks awful, and it very much is, because you killed this man, who I believe is very nice, but I believe you were also possessed by a doll at the time, so I think I could probably get you off with manslaughter, probably involuntary manslaughter. I am a lawyer. This is fine.
She sort of drops the knife out of her hand and just sort of stares at her bloody
That's
hands
good. You
for a
should
bit.
definitely hide the murder weapon. As your legal counsel, I advise you to make it hidden to the authorities.
And at this point, she's essentially no longer reacting to what you're saying, but she does scream out at the top of her lungs, "Mincy! Mincy!"
Is this doll moving at all?
No, the doll is once again limp.
I'm gonna look at Vermillion, who I assume is still holding the doll, and just be like, would you mind if I had a quick look at that, please?
Yeah, here you go. Just gotta.
I'm absolutely going
Oh,
to
you've got the
gutter
doll.
stomp this doll, like straight up, drop it, and just under my boot, just stomp on its head.
The porcelain little head of this adorable child's toy is crushed into fine dust.
Adorable child's toy that
no.
just fucking stabbed
Yeah.
the shit out of someone.
Man, this couldn't possibly go bad for any other dolls in the vicinity.
How many pouches of gold do I have?
3 separate pouches with various amounts of gold in each of them. One has significantly more than the other.
I'll keep that one. I will give the second heaviest, if I can determine that, to Vermillion, and the third heaviest, if I can determine that, I'll toss towards Lilith.
Are there more of these dolls around that are going to start possessing people and committing murder again?
Yes,
Well,
there's a
good.
couple upstairs.
The good news is, if we come across them, now we know how to free the people, I guess.
But ideally, we should probably not let that happen. We weren't quick enough the first time, and this, I'm sure, lovely gentleman is now dead, and this also very brisk but probably lovely woman is clearly heavily psychologically traumatized.
Yeah, is she still just like screaming in a corner? Like, what's she doing at this point?
She has at this point rolled out of the pool of blood on the kitchen bench, and she's just kind of made her way into a corner of this kitchen, and she's just kind of like crouching down with her hands over her eyes, just rocking ever so slyly, just trying to blank out everything else that's happening in the room.
Hey, keep it together. You gotta take care of these kids. You can't. You can't.
Some of
fall
those children
apart.
are almost certainly possessed as well.
Yeah, and someone's gotta fucking take care of them. That's the responsibility of you. And I'm gonna point at her.
Harding raises a finger to her mouth and kind of covering herself with blood in the process. The children! And she bolts out of the kitchen. Meanwhile, $2 a fairy and a monkey enter the rear of this house. So as you're entering in this back door, you can see what looks like the underside of some stairs that you're approaching. And on the left, you'll see there's sort of a large gap, like a corridor going into a large open room of some kind. And you see a woman covered in blood run past this corridor off to the right.
No, no, nope, 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 nope.
You'll catch the sound of a door closing from the direction that this woman has fled, and you see on the opposite side of this large room, you'll see another door. In the room itself, you can see a small table with small chairs and a bunch of toys kind of surrounding this table, a few board games, some dice and spinning tops and things. There's quite a few bookshelves that surround the walls of this entire room as well.
Is there anything that resembles any kind of writing implement, like chalk, crayons, like anything like that that's lying around?
Some pencils and paper is kind of on the floor next to that same small table.
Doll number 2 will rush over to where the paper and pencil is, and will try and pick the pencil up with its little Muppet hands, and then realize that it's probably not actually going to work considering pencil size and what's going on. And so you'll then see the pencil stand up by itself and start to kind of try and write on the paper.
What was it that you
Wow.
intended to have this pencil write?
It is
It's just drawing dick.
all he writes on the piece of paper is the word "sell." Point at Tiny, and then point at that, and then point at Tiny, and then kind of like you know, emphatically point at it.
I'm looking for Sal. Are you looking for Sal, or are you Sal?
You see the shoulders slump almost into.
Are you Sal? Is my other question. How is Sal in a doll? How is Tiny supposed to get Sal out of a doll? This is not a good day for Tiny.
Sal will point at the other doll and go,
Doll 1 will look at both of you and then also just be like,
As you were attempting to communicate with each other, quite hilariously, 2 other dolls will come barreling down these large, very fancy-looking, well-polished wooden and marble stairs, wielding in, stabbed into their tiny little cotton hands, one of these silver needles each. And they ignore you 3 entirely and run into the room opposite of the one that that woman had run into earlier.
Doll 1 is gonna just kind of stare as like they run past, and then climb on the back of the monkey because she doesn't want him to like run off, basically.
so doll 2 or Sal points at the monkey, points at the other doll, then points at you, Tiny, and holds its arms up.
No. We are not swapping. I don't care if you're a doll. No. Should we follow the other dolls?
He'll start heading towards where the other dolls went, yeah.
Malia, Lilith, and Vermillion. You see the kitchen door kind of swing back open a short time after Harding's run out, and hear the pitter-patter of little tiny feet. And sure enough, before you, there are 2
Thunderwave.
of these dolls.
Immediately
Uh,
thunder.
Yep, go for it.
Although this is a 15-foot cube, so it would hit anything else that's
Well,
on the other side
the
of the
door itself just blows.
Yeah, just blows off.
Clean
Just
off.
fire
like,
a door.
Yeah,
into
reverse
there.
hinge. This and in which case, so Sal, Tinywing, and Kaori, you will see the door of this other room just get absolutely belted, and it with such force that it just wraps around the where the hinges had been fixed. You also see one of these dolls that had just run past you go absolutely flying into this large foyer.
Little bit of stuffing just kind of drops out from underneath there.
Tinywing is going to get as close to the wall as she can, but continue flying towards where the door opening is. And she is going to stick her tiny little head from like the top of the door. She's going to like fly upside down and stick her head down. To be like, hello? I'm friendly. I'm not a doll. Please don't hurt me. Also, I have 2 dolls with me, and they're all so nice. And I have Monkey.
Is that one of the kids?
I'm not a kid. I'm a fairy.
Are you sure you're real tiny?
I have wings. Do kids have wings?
I don't know. don't remember being a child, and I have seen very few children.
You don't remember being a child?
No, that's a whole other thing we should get into later.
All right.
It's
neither
more
do I.
common than you might think, honestly.
I have no desire to hurt you unless you hurt us, I guess. So
I'm not going to hurt anybody.
back off.
I'm not going to hurt anybody. But you did hurt 2 dolls. And I'm guessing they were bad dolls because I'm pretty sure I saw pointy, stabby things coming out of their hands. I have 2 dolls with me, but they are not mean dolls. They do not have stabby things coming out of their hands. They are nice, and I'm pretty sure one of them is my friend Sal.
I'm just going to sidestep and look at the mutilated body behind me, like just laying there on the
Yeah,
ground.
we've been having a little doll problem, as you can probably see by all of this blood.
And as you say that, and Tinywing, you'll probably be the first to see this. You'll seem to have forgotten there is still one of these dolls in the room, and it leaps for you with Silver Needle in hand, Vermillion.
Could Tinywing just cast Eldritch Blast at it from where she is flying up in the air behind the door because it's trying to hurt someone?
Absolutely, go for it. Can you describe for us real quick what Tinywing's Eldritch Blast looks like and how exactly it eviscerates this doll?
It is going to be purple, but not like purple you see in a rainbow. It's going to be purple like you would see it coming off an amethyst when it catches the sun. So it's just like a little blast of that, and when it hits it, it shatters like a stone would if it was dropped.
So I think at this stage, another little doll will appear in the doorway.
Oh, there's another one!
Its little arms
Get
are
it!
like up, and you can see it's kind of like shaking.
Does this new emerging doll have any form of a needle on it?
It does, but it is at their hip.
I'm gonna approach this doll, look down at it, and be like, "I'm just gonna need you to hear me out, and I'm just gonna reach for the needle."
The doll will kind of move back slightly, like as you kind of reach for it with your like giant for its hand, it'll move back a bit, and then kind of sort of seeing where you're going will sort of offer its hip.
I will take the needle, and I'm gonna look at Tinywing, and I'm gonna be like, "This worked on the last one," and I'm just gonna, before anyone can hesitate, just attempt to jab the doll with the needle.
Immediately, the Sal doll just drops to the floor. Sal, you open your eyes to find you are bound to some kind of sort of cold, perhaps some kind of stone wall.
The first thing I'll do is like wiggle my fingers and let out a very, very long sigh of relief. And then I'm gonna look around. Is there anybody else in here?
You can see there's one figure hung up quite similarly on either side of you. Jeannie, would you like to describe what Kaori proper looks like, please?
She has a long brown, like a wavy curl, hair going on. She's quite sun-kissed. Like it's obvious that she is out in the sunshine quite a lot. She's wearing like a white ruffled blouse with like a brown corset over top of it. So a little pirate get up. She's about average height. She's not super short, but she's not really tall either. So
Okay. Human, elf.
human.
And on the other side, you see what looks to be a gnome woman. She has some pretty decent armor that she's wearing. You can see what looks to be a pretty fancy kind of bunch of weaponry down at her feet on the ground.
Is there tables? Is there anything where like there might be a key or anything of that nature?
No, so it's rope that you're currently being held by, kind of tied back through just some breaks in the stonework. So it's not a particularly thorough job, and some of this rope is fraying. But you don't see. You look to be in a fairly small kind of area. You can see that it definitely opens up a bit further out, but there's a bit of a curve to the direction that goes to, and you can't quite make out what might be down there. But you do see some sort of like dim light flickering from down in that direction as well.
I would like to attempt to use invisible force to manipulate the rope and untie it.
The rope holding your right hand very easily snakes itself out of the knot that it's in, and you've got one hand free.
Cool. And I'll proceed to go through and continue to try and untie myself. A combination of that free hand now and also invisible force to get myself free.
Tinywing has just watched Sal as a doll then just go completely limp. And so the doll that informed you that they were Sal by manipulating a pencil in the other room there is now lying still on the kitchen floor after being stabbed with a silver needle by Malia.
Yeah, and Tiny's not doing real well with that. And so the gang is actually going to see Tiny. All of her skin turns deathly pale, and they see small patches of decay appear on her face. And her hair changes from the dark purple black that you would normally see into like an almost pastel version of that. And her eyes turn black as night. Her wings, once colorful, are now also an oily black and look like they are also starting to decay. And her voice is no longer the cute, sweet little fairy voice that you heard before. She is not impressed that her friend Sal, in a doll, is dead. Where is Sal? You have killed Doll Sal.
And you are really fucking welcome. He will be back in his body. We just got to find where that may be.
You killed Sal, but you don't know where he's supposed to turn back up.
Oh, he's not dead. He's alive. He's just in his actual body.
You will forgive Tiny for not believing that.
Is Jeannie's doll in here too? Is there another doll?
She can very slowly, as Sal's doll falls to the floor, like just kind of creep in, but like just not really want to go in guns blazing on a monkey.
Does the guns blazing monkey have a needle on them also?
Yes, I do have a needle on me, but very barely peeking in the door. After witnessing Malia stab doll 2, is it like, what's the clothes? Is it like very baggy? Is it possible to hide the needle?
Your body is effectively made up of some stuffing and some cotton material with, we'll say, kind of purple stripes in a diagonal direction. No pockets, kind of frills at the end of your sleeves that aren't actually sleeves.
So I can't even like shove it down a sleeve or anything without possibly stabbing myself.
You could insert it into yourself, yes.
I think after watching Doll 2 drop, she's probably not too keen on doing that just yet, especially not knowing what has actually happened to Sal. So she'll kind of like try and use her body to hide it, but you'll probably be able to see it.
Look, if I can see it, seeing the apprehension on Tinywing's face, and also how the doll is peeking, and obviously, I don't know, kind of looking like they don't want to be in here. I would, instead of asking this time, I would attempt to just grab the needle and stab.
Can the monkey just start running around the room like crazy with this doll on his back?
I would like to use my inherent ability to speak to animals to talk to this monkey. Hey there, buddy. What's your name?
This isn't a spell. This is just an inherent ability. Beasts can understand your speech, and you gain the ability to decipher their noises and motions.
And so we'll say literally then as Malia's reaching out, Vermillion has asked this question. We'll offer the opportunity for Zephyr to provide a response first.
At the question, he just stops and stares at Vermillion because what's going on? Like, what's happening? Obviously he's not used to people to being able to understand speech. And he's like super frantic and he just says quickly, Zephyr.
At which point Malia has successfully then grabbed this doll.
Yeah, stabby stab.
Kaori's doll body then in your hand, Malia, will go limp.
After both dolls are limp, I'm just gonna gutter stomp them both.
Lilith is going to go and rummage through the packs to try and find a piece of paper that she has signed.
Tiny is going to use thaumaturgy to make her voice much louder and just start yelling for Sal.
Hello. Nice, very small person and monkey.
I think
whose
she
name is
said she
Zephyr.
was a fairy.
Oh, fairy, cool. I don't think I know any fairies. It's nice to meet you. My name is Vermillion, rope inspector, sometimes lawyer. And hello, Zephyr. Is it the monkey? Yeah, cool. You're probably wondering what's going on here. I'd be more than happy to provide you with an explanation. While my colleagues / associates are rummaging through a bunch of stuff down here. So these dolls that are now smashed, I believe, probably contained the souls or essence of, I'm guessing, the person you're shouting for, Sal, and possibly someone else. The good news is that by stabbing them with their own needles, we have returned the souls / essence to their original bodies. The bad news is that we don't know where those bodies are. You can rest assured that your friends are probably okay. They may be in mortal danger, but they are in their own bodies and possessing their own faculties as we speak. I don't suppose you guys would know where your friends might be.
How did you get here?
Sal and I were traveling here. I have a friend, and he said I needed to come here. There was somebody I had to find.
Okay, so you were traveling here. Where's the last time you remember your friend Sal being?
I think it was near where I was captured. I was put back in a lantern that I had to break out of to get to you guys. That was back the other way.
Well, I've found, when I've lost my keys or something like that, retracing my steps, always a good way to start. So just like keys, let's go find your friends.
So Sal, you have freed yourself from your confines. Very soon after that, you'll spend a little bit of time just kind of looking around in this room. You'll see some kind of dug out areas of stone and kind of rags over what you assume in this area look to be kind of body shapes that are covered by sort of old ancient rags. There's some kind of plaques below each of these within the wall on the other side of you. As you kind of ascertain that, Kaori, you come back to your faculties in your own actual body.
Can I see Sal?
It's real dark, but you can definitely see
Somebody
movement in that darkness ahead of you. Yeah.
I try and look around for a little bit, but can't see shit basically, except that little bit of movement. So I end up calling out, "Who's there? Can you help me?"
When you call out, he's sort of been focusing on these shrouds and these plaques and stuff like that, and there'd be a slightly awkward "Ah!" and you would see the shape kind of spin around. Because it's dark, it's hard to make out a lot of features. Very tall, sort of 6'4", 6'5", very, very skinny, with a long cloak, quite pronounced features, quite large, pointy ears. Wait, what? Who? Oh, are you the second? No, the first doll, because I was the second doll.
Yes. So you were doll too.
I was doll too. Yeah.
Okay, get me down right
Oh.
now.
Sure. And so Sal walks over and starts untying your hands. How did you end up like here? I was here with the little fairy lass, Tiny, but like, were you here with the others?
No, there was a storm. I needed refuge. That was it.
Can we? This place is weird. I got stabbed by a little doll. Guessing the same thing happened to you. Let's get out of here.
Please.
I'll get you both to roll perception check, please.
5 minus 1 is a 4.
That's okay. I rolled a 2 minus 2, so that's a 0.
Oh no!
Amazing. Yeah, you both found yourself in a cold, dark room. Sal, from your previous look around, you are aware that there are 2 exits from the room that you're in. One of them, there's some form, and with the dark vision, you don't really get much of an inclination of the nature of it, but there is some form of dim light in one direction. You don't really see much in the other direction, but it looks to have been going upward.
Oh, my name's Salislo, or Sal, as you probably saw with my writing. Who are you?
She just kind of stares for a second, and then she's like, "I'm," like, obviously just. She's like, all right, whatever, that's fine. I can trust this dude. It's just a name. So, Kaori Baron.
Excellent. All right. I have no idea where we are. Light or no light? And he'll kind of point towards the light, or he'll point towards the other way where there was no light.
Light. We're going for the light.
Sal will just head off in that direction. Then he'll stop and he'll turn around very abruptly. Kind of reach into a pack that he will have picked up and stuff like that, and he'll pull out a torch. And he'll kind of just pass it to her and goes, I've just realized that maybe you can't actually see very well here.
She looks down at it, looks at him, and then just ends up taking it, saying thank you.
Oh, excellent. And he'll turn around and not light it, and he'll just keep heading towards where the light is.
I'm just going to use the flint and light it.
The both of you see that on either side of you now, 4 figures of darkness within the surrounding darkness seem to almost rise up and just make this awful noise at the both of you. And we'll jump back over to the house.
Any questions?
Are you guys like done here? Are you going to just go, or are you going to help us find the people too?
Well, I suppose we could help. Right, gang?
I mean, we could, I guess.
There you go. That's the spirit. Oh, by the way, this is my best friend, Malia. Say hello. There you go. And this very tall, intimidating, and polite demon lady. This is Lilith.
I think you missed a slight description factor, and that is like now seemingly half unclothed. Do you want to? What was the thought process there?
The thought process behind that was that there are some in this world who already consider me to be, oh, I don't know, monstrous, demonic, even. And I would not give those little monsters a chance to make that true.
Zephyr, you don't look like you were captured at any point. Do you know where your friends are?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, we can just retrace steps. We can just follow this tiny being back the way that they came.
My name's Tinywing. You can call me Tiny, though.
Lead the way, almighty fairy.
Also, I could try something. Can either of you think of a very specific thing that one of your companions might have on them, like a piece of jewelry or something you could describe in detail? I could try and locate it, and that might give us an idea of where they are.
He ends up describing a silver medallion that's got like a skull on the front of it, and then like a bunch of little markings is what he calls it, because obviously he doesn't really know too much what it is. So yeah, he just recognizes the skull. It's a circle shape. It's silver. He also probably pointed out like a few bugs passing by.
She would tell him about Sal's marble bag. It's a faded red bag with a light blue drawstring and the letter S embroidered on it in gold thread.
Between the two descriptions, I think we can have this spell land then, in that case. The sense of direction that you get is definitely out towards the rear of the house to the graveyard beyond that backyard area.
This will work for approximately 10 minutes, so we should probably hustle that away.
Can Zephyr also attempt to climb up on Vermillion's shoulder as well? Then
Yeah, sure, why not?
10 minutes is plenty of time to walk back out into the backyard and into this graveyard, and that direction that you feel is definitely pulling down into the mausoleum, which is kind of at the rear of this graveyard from the direction that you're approaching it. As you're wandering through this graveyard, you notice two of the graves that you're kind of walking past have been kind of scooped out. You see a coffin lid kind of lying a little ways away from one of these graves. You also notice two what seem to be relatively recently dug and filled graves in this graveyard as well.
Anyone think anything odd about those graves over there?
This is where I found Sal doll earlier.
Okay, so one would assume, I guess, that if we were to open that one up, it might have a doll in it, right?
I mean, it's worth a look, right?
Anyone want to be a hero and move this dirt?
Tiny will just do it.
Yeah.
Dirt.
Thunder
Coffin
Wave.
open.
First one
Is
is
there a doll?
opened up, and there is indeed a small doll that pops out of this coffin. Before you have a chance to stab anything, this doll, Malia, sees you and just instantly rushes to your leg and hugs it.
As I'm opening it, I would have been kind of preparing for that to do it, so it would have kind of been like
That's fair.
natural 20.
Yeah, easy. Okay, this doll goes limp
that.
at your feet. It's just kind of
Wow.
like it's hugging your leg as if
I
for
know.
dear life, as tight as its little cloth arms can, and you stab it, and it just kind of slowly slides off your leg and falls back down on its back.
Tiny, would you mind moving dirt off the other one also? If we can free these people, we may as well.
That one, you open the coffin lid, fully prepared to kind of grab this doll and give it the old silver stabby stab. Instead, as you kind of pull the lid up, you're like a splinter in one hand.
Wow.
And you reach for the doll, miss, and it crawls out of the coffin, scrambles out, and just immediately bolts in the opposite direction to the mausoleum.
Do I feel
Great
like I
question.
could catch it?
You could give chase, for sure. It does have a slight head start on you, and you lose sight of it fairly immediately. So you'll remember the graveyard isn't well kept as the garden on the back
cool.
of the house, and you've lost sight of this thing.
No. I'll go to almost do it, and then I'll just be like, I think that one's gone. I guess we just keep heading off the way
I'm
that
sure it's fine, and that won't possibly come back to haunt us later on. To the mausoleum!
The entry to it's just essentially an open archway. It may have had a door at some point, but it's well and truly since crumbled. And so you walk into the first room of this mausoleum to find kind of a large, it looks like a tomb, right? It's just a big old stone box, and directly ahead of you on the other side there is a stone archway that leads further in.
We have to go in further. I flew through here earlier.
How dark does it look in there?
In that second room
Just
and
like
beyond,
here.
it just gets progressively dimmer.
Don't say I don't do anything for you, dear. And all of you get 300 feet of dark vision in shades of purple for an hour. And real quickly, I'll just give myself Vigilant Blessing.
What you'll see, Vermillion, then is, so the way the dark vision works for elves, it's not like just a visual of what's in front of you. It's a read on the nature of the weave itself in any given area. And what you see occur is kind of this ripple, gentle kind of ripple through this weave. And you can almost feel that dark vision extending out as well as seeing it. It's probably a good another 10 minutes or so trudging into this place. When you see ahead of you a torchlight, and it is blocked by two shadow creatures that stand between you and Tiny, who you know to be Sal. All of you see Zephyr jump up and down and get excited. And dashing below these shadow creatures directly to Kaori. And at that point, we'll get everyone to roll initiative, please. In the next session of the Soul of the
happened to
Skulls. Thank you to everyone who's stuck around and watched so far. It's been awesome. Thank you to our 3 new players who have jumped in, guns and monkeys blazing. And I also just want to do a very traditional shout out to Saz as well for offering the Meeples and Dragons channel to host the comeback session as well. So thank you. The Sword of the Skulls is here temporarily. We are very thankful guests here, which has been wonderful. Starting next month, we'll be on a brand new little channel.
What's it called?
It's called The Lorewrights.